This artist was kicked out of his house for what he believed in, ended up homeless, and then won a Grammy for a song that would go multi-platinum. What's up? Thanks for watching this video. In these videos, I kind of outline what I've been listening to for the last week. So I'll talk a little bit about this first artist, which I sort of dive deeper into, and then I'll go into like a couple of different songs that I listened to this week. So Daniel Caesar's father was a gospel singer who didn't allow secular music in his house. He grew up singing in church, but says that he never heard the still small voice and that he never got all those things that people who have been touched by God talk about. He wanted to make music from a super young age, but his parents told him that he could only do it if he was going to sing songs glorifying God, because anything that isn't doing that is specifically glorifying Satan. So there's this incredible tension that builds between Daniel Caesar and his family during this time as he's growing up. He's singing in church, and then shortly before his high school graduation, he gets expelled from school for selling weed. He gets in this big fight with his father, and that leads him to move to Toronto fully on his own. He had no money, no job, so he would sleep on people's couches, and then when people's couches weren't available, he slept on park benches. During this time, he starts to write and record secular songs with friends at their apartments, wherever he could get access to. He starts writing and recording these songs. All of these songs culminate in an EP that's called Praise Break, where he's sort of talking about this conflicted religious upbringing that he has and just sort of putting it all on display. And this EP catches the attention of Rolling Stone, who labels it as one of the top 20 R&B albums of 2014. And then he goes on to release another EP, and then his debut album Freudian comes out and is a huge hit. And then in 2019, he wins a Grammy for the song Get You from that album, which goes multi-platinum, like I said, and just completely takes his career to another level. And in this song, he's talking about a relationship with a woman. So again, it's this secular thing that he's like gaining a lot of notoriety for and is building his career on. He describes the music that he makes as a sacrifice, saying, I'm really putting myself and my business out there, but that it feels good to have it out there and then know that other people can identify with it. So it's a really interesting thing where he's told not to do this. He's told not to make secular music. He's told to only make music about God, and he's resisting this, and it's this big conflict with his parents, and it's what leads him to be homeless, but it's also what wins him a Grammy and puts him on the map. I mean, he goes on to do collaborations with John Mayer on his second album. He puts out a song with Justin Bieber called Peaches, which is a huge hit. It's a #1. But all the while in his music, he's wrestling with all of these themes in his inner life and putting them on public display. And last week, he released a new album called Son of Spurgey, where all of this wrestling with God, with relationships, sort of comes full circle. The album begins with him singing the words, Lord, let your blessings rain down, on a song called Rain Down. But then on the second track, which is called Have a Baby With Me, he's serenading this woman who he wants to have kids with. So you got the sacred and you've got the secular right next to each other already on this album. And then on the fourth track, this song called Baby Blue, his dad is literally singing with him on the song. Like he's featured as an artist on Spotify. I was totally taken back when I heard the first song. Like, I've been a fan of Daniel Caesar for a while. I really liked his album Case Study 01, which came out in 2019. But I've known sort of about this like religious thing. I knew that he grew up super religious, that his dad was a gospel singer. And so to hear him singing about God on this album just like totally threw me for a loop initially. And then the fact that he's doing it with his dad too, because of this past with his dad. I mean, his dad kicks him out of his house, and this leads to him being homeless. But then it also leads to him being Grammy nominated, and then now they're making music together. It's like this beautiful full circle picture that he's painting here. In this press release for the album Son of Spurgey, he says, I have a lot of respect for my dad, and I hold him in high regard. The album is about me realizing that I'm exactly like him. In that sense, it's about having patience, respect, and admiration for myself. And the name of the album is based on his dad's nickname, which is Spurgey. So it seems like Daniel Caesar is reconciling with his roots and doing it in this very public way, which I think is super awesome. Everything else set aside, all the controversy about Daniel Caesar set aside, he is like making this bold statement as an artist and has been doing it for years, and I really respect that. Another thing I listened to this week is an artist that I discovered when I was working for this author named Ryan Holiday. I was basically sort of behind the scenes on his podcast, his YouTube channel, his social media, just any sort of like marketing stuff around his company called The Daily Stoic. And he had this guy review the Daily Stoic channel. And in this review, he mentioned a channel called Nerdwriter, which is this great video essay style channel. And so I went and watched one of the videos, and I discovered this artist Blue Wednesday from one of the videos, and I've been a big fan ever since. In my mind, he is like the king of lo-fi, which lo-fi music is typically super chill, kind of laid back, hip-hop style beats, but not a lot of high end. Like, it sounds like it's coming out of a radio usually, and it's sort of meant to be relaxing and sort of chill. But this artist, Blue Wednesday, brings this sort of unique sensibility to it. It's super rhythmic, but the chords are always really interesting, and there is more high end in the music, which I really like. And it's the kind of music that I'll put on if I'm like really overstimulated or if I'm overextending myself and need to relax. It's very healing and relaxing music. If you haven't listened, I would start with his 2020 EP Discovery, which is really good. But all of his stuff is really great. And the new song he put out, Flora, is really good last week. But one song specifically would be Introvert from the 2020 album Discovery. And the last song I'll talk about from this week is a song called Everybody Knows by this band, The Devil Wears Prada. I grew up in East Texas in a hardcore band where we moshed, we wore skinny jeans, and we screamed and played every show like it was our last. And this band was one of the first that kind of inspired my band to like write our own music, and we would cover their songs days after they came out. We were kind of obsessed with them. We'd go to all the shows that they played in Dallas. But the progression of a lot of bands from those days has been like to kind of die out, and then they just get regular jobs. But this band has been playing and releasing music since 2006, which I think is super awesome. And they've been like evolving and progressing ever since then. Like, most of their catalog, Mike Karonica, the lead singer, is screaming. It's super hardcore. But the last couple of albums, they've been integrating a lot more melodic singing, which is this guy, Jeremy DePoyster, who's the other singer in the band. And on this song, he's taking like a front-facing role. He's mainly leading the song. The reason it caught my attention was the melody is really good. It kind of reminds me of like late 90s, early 2000s alternative stuff melodically, but it's cool because they're keeping a lot of the production elements that make them who they are, which is this hardcore, a little bit of synth electronic stuff involved, but still very heavy music, guitar and drum and bass led. But this one has more of a pop feel than a lot of stuff they've done, which I think is really cool. So yeah, it's getting dark out, and I'm recording this at 6 p.m. on Monday, so I'm quickly losing light. But thanks for watching this if you made it this far. Hope you listen to great music this week.